What about your homeworks? Done? Show me your insight.
Oh, insight.
Yeah, insight.
60 vocab.
Sentence completion and all. Sentence completion and direction, right?
They ask for 60 vocab.
Shut up, Manjot.
And 60 vocab. I wrote it and you have to see it.
Thank you so much.
I wrote 60 vocab. No, man. You have
Proud
to see
of
it. Man. You have to see it.
Proud of you.
I wrote 61, but I have to cut one.
Okay, somebody else is there who has as bad handwriting as me.
Thank you. Dr. Manjot.
Good. Read regularly.
I was reading newspaper yesterday.
Uh-huh.
So I wrote this all.
Have you downloaded the app? Any app to read articles or newspapers? You are
I
just
got newspaper and now.
fine. What about you,
We
Vikas?
saw the sentence completion, ma'am.
Oh, I did that too.
We saw the sentence completion, which yesterday we gave, and we saw the vocab,
Huh.
and this is the TED talk.
Fine. Very well done. Om? Bye. No?
60 vocab.
If every day you'll give me the same excuse, I cannot work with it. Aviral?
No, you write 60 vocab too. No excuse. 60 vocab. Go to Nagar sir. Go to Nagar sir.
Go to
I will not hear anything. No. Go to Sagar sir.
and tell him, ma'am, give her homework.
You don't say anything. You didn't wrote 60. I wrote.
Enough!
I wrote.
Manjot.
Shut up, idiot.
Okay. Completed lesson 7. Those who have not done homework will complete the sentences and will also write the directions. Okay?
Then what were you writing
I
directions
wrote
like?
sentences.
The directions which were there in box A, signaling contrast, giving example, adding detail, those were the directions, no?
Okay.
You got signpost,
Yeah.
what is the direction for that? You were supposed to write direction, right? Okay. Can I know your names please?
Myself Kushal Sundarani.
Kushal. Okay.
Mayank, more trying.
Mayank. Now please come to lesson 8,
So,
last
check, ma'am, sentence completion part or after the class?
sentence completion. There is no need to check. Why to check? I mean, I have explained thoroughly yesterday. I am sure you have done it.
right.
Okay. Come to lesson 8. Following a talk. How will you follow a conversation? How you will follow a talk? What is there which is going to help you? Signpost words. Why? Because signpost will let you know that okay, part 1 is completed. Now the person is going to speak about part 2. Some next information is going to come, right? So I want you to read this. Read it out. Sheetal ma'am? Navi? Inside lesson नहीं है तो शीतल को बोलो. Done? Okay. Here is a table in which, like, suppose this is the A conversation. Okay, what are the keywords which you can pick from here? Already done for this one only. Recognize handwriting or scientific studies related to that. Okay, these are the keywords. So now what do you think? What could be the topic?
Writing.
Handwriting. Yeah, because they are completely, yes. Lesson 8, 2 copies. They are completely talking about handwriting only. So that would be the main idea. Rest of the things, whatever they have added, are the supportive ideas, right? Okay. Own knowledge. What is your knowledge about handwriting?
It should be clean.
Okay.
Type of handwriting.
Type
of handwriting.
Tell me types of handwriting.
Bold, italic.
Okay. Yours?
There
should be enough space to understand what it means.
Okay. Own knowledge about handwriting.
Can be bad or good.
Okay. My handwriting is literally bad since beginning only, so there is only, yeah, kind of, you can say that.
Mine too.
So my teacher used to tell me that handwritings usually tell about our personality, so please write beautifully, but I never could. That is the only own knowledge I have for handwriting. Okay, possible development. Suppose this is introductory part, okay? What is the possible development according to you? What could be like, what could be there in next paragraph?
Means planning next paragraph.
Yes, next paragraph. This is the introductory part.
Yeah.
The topic is handwriting. First para, what could the second para comprise of?
Any kind of handwriting.
Kinds, okay, types of handwriting. Next,
Way of writing.
okay, ways of writing.
Advantages of good handwriting.
Okay. Origin of handwriting, origin of fonts. That could be the topic of first idea. That could be the main idea of first paragraph. Okay. Now, about the topic A, you read. Fine. Now, for topic B, C, D, I'll play an audio. You have to listen, get keywords and phrases, then frame what could be the main topic, then write possible development, and own knowledge you can write later on.
Yes. Right.
Fine.
Huh?
Shall I play?
Yes.
Yes, Manjot, any doubt?
Can you explain it again?
Yes. Suppose as you read it here, right? As you read it here
Yeah.
and you answered these questions. Like, what is the topic of this? What is the topic of this? What is your own knowledge regarding handwriting? What could be the possible development? That means what could be there in next paragraph. In the same way, I'll play an audio for BCD. You will not get to read. As you will listen, you have to note down the keywords, phrases. Then you have to frame topic
and
comprising of main idea. Then what is your own knowledge about that topic? What could be the possible?
It could be wrong or it could be correct, but we have to write our own knowledge, what we have, what we think
Like
about.
whatever you have.
Okay.
I'm not checking your knowledge, right? But are you able to understand what the question is asking?
Okay.
That will be judged here. Fine? Just a minute. They are getting sheets for you.
डॉक्टर के पास जाना 5 दिन के कोर्स करना एक्सरसाइज करके एक बार एक्सरसाइज में क्या दवाई से काम 2 बार तो दवाई मिस भी हो गई उसके बाद भी तो मतलब ये समझ लिया कल में उसके बाद
They'll get it for you, but by that time you write it in a notebook, okay? Understood the question, everyone? Sorry. 31.
Track 31. B. One of China's most famous plants is bamboo, and you may be surprised to know that there are actually more than 300 species of bamboo plant covering about 3% of the total forest area in China. Bamboo is cultivated for use as a building material, as well as a source of food. So let's have a look at some of the most...
C. The most common staple foods are bread, rice and pasta, and most people are familiar with them all. Nevertheless, we each have our own idea of what a loaf of bread should look and taste like, or the best way to serve rice or to cook noodles. So let's consider some of the most common methods.
D.
Today, in our series of lectures on language, we are going to be looking at the way in which children acquire language. This area of study is characterized by 3 main features which may explain the interest in the topic.
Done? Please write own knowledge and possible development. Done?
You can write here or
Here only you can write. If the space is not proper, you can write in notebook, no problem. Okay. Aviril, tell me everything about B.
The keywords and characteristics are China, bamboo plant.
Okay. Topic?
Topic is about the types of bamboo use.
Sorry?
Bamboo.
Topic is?
Bamboo.
Bamboo. Correct. Own knowledge?
Bamboo is used by panda used to eat bamboo.
Okay. Possible development?
How bamboo used in ancient China.
Okay. C. Vikas?
Staple food. Bread, rice, noodles.
Okay.
And, it means like
Topic?
topic will be staple food.
Staple food. Correct.
And,
Give it to both.
how we can use it own language like in our diet.
Okay. And possible development?
Man.
He told about 3 to 4 things. If it is light, please manage for right now. She is taking print from other computer also. Possible development. They ended the conversation by telling the method of serving rice, cooking noodles. So, what could be the possible development? They may talk about the cooking methods. They may talk about serving methods. Okay. Abhijit, D.
So, keywords already. So, keyword language. Topic is language.
Keyword language, topic language, possible development language. Quickly. Okay, own knowledge. Possible development. Not written, no problem. But you heard the conversation. What could be the possible development according to you? Manjot, D.
The 3 main series on keywords.
Sorry?
3 main series.
3 main series. Okay.
Then topic is language.
Okay.
It can be used anywhere.
Okay. Possible development.
We can learn.
Huh?
We can learn new languages.
how she ended the conversation. According to that, what would be the possible development? Like, what would be the main idea of next paragraph?
I didn't know.
Om.
I also don't get possible development.
That is your, like, you have to write it by yourself. It is not played in the audio. Because
Segment keywords and the paraphrases will be.
no, just tell me possible development
possible
of.
development will how kids will use the language.
Okay.
Means it was specific about the children.
Child language. Okay, children's language was the main topic.
Main topic.
Whatever keywords and all you have heard, those are language, children, study. But the main topic was children's language. Fine. Okay. Now please come to question number 6. Able to write type of words? Kushal, Mayank, what will happen here? I'll play an audio. You have to fill in the gaps here. But before that, I want you to write type of words that you are expecting as answer. Okay. Number 1 is, some say game began in Afghanistan and dash. Okay. So what would be the next word related to Afghanistan? It may be some place, some another country. So what could be the type of word? A country. Right? Number 2, reached Europe by Aviral, manner or
Date.
yes, time. Then third one, variations played in Japan and
Country.
Country.
Time or date?
date or manner. Date, time, manner, by 2 years, by 1000 years, by shape. It could be anything.
I wrote day and country.
Okay. Then variations played in Japan and country. Correct. Fourth, today's dash named after
Person.
English chess master.
Famous chess master.
Mm,
It could be
today's
name.
dash named after his name. So what?
Prodigy.
Maybe today's children. Maybe today's monument. It could be like, it could be anything, but it would be noun, not verb, not adjective, not conjunction. It would be noun. Okay. Number 5, first dash in 1866.
88.
Game.
First date.
Game chess.
Game, event, tournament. That could be the answer. Okay. Then Capablanca considered among the top dash names in history of game. Top.
Country.
That's now 2.
Read again. Capablanca considered among the top dash names in history of game.
Ranking.
Maybe ranking, like number. Okay. Or
Game.
could be any adjective. Right. Top achievers. Like that.
Asian champions.
Yes. Okay. Now you understood what you are looking for. Fine. Shall I play the audio?
Track 32. John Getnick is with us in the studio tonight to talk about the origins of the game chess. Welcome, John.
Thank you. I'm sure you're all familiar with the wonderful game of chess, but have you ever stopped to think where it came from and when? Well, we believe the game dates back to before AD 600 and was first played in either Afghanistan or what is now northern India. The oldest written references that we have to chess date from then, but there are claims that chess existed earlier than this. We think the version played by Europeans and Americans today travelled through Iran to the main commercial centres of Europe by the year 1000. The game was then taken to Scandinavia by the seafaring Vikings, so by the 1400s chess was played throughout Europe. There are quite a few variations to the game found in other parts of the world. For instance, one variation called shogi is played in Japan. Another variation is played in China. One person whose name stands out in the history of chess is the chess master Howard Staunton. Staunton lived in England in the mid-1800s and gave his name to the chess pieces that are still used in competitions all over the world today and are, in fact, synonymous with the game. Other shapes and sizes exist, but these are by far the most common. Interestingly enough, however, the idea of chess competitions is relatively recent when we consider how long the game has been in existence. The first championship was played in 1866 in London and was won by a man from Bohemia called Steinitz. He was, in effect, the world's first official champion, and he held the title until 1894, when he was beaten by a German called Emanuel Lasker, who in turn lost the title in 1921 to a Cuban called Capablanca. Many people today consider Capablanca as one of the top 3 players ever to live. His game influenced many who followed him, and keen professional players today still study his game.
Done? Number 1.
Northern India. Northern India.
Yeah,
Northern India.
Everybody. Number 2.
Iran.
1000.
Year 1000. Number 3.
China.
China.
Correct. Number 4.
Howard
Staunton.
Chess piece.
That was the name of chess master.
Chess piece.
Chess pieces. There's not one piece. There are pieces. So chess pieces. Today's chess pieces are named after his name.
Howard Staunton.
Okay. Number 5.
Championship.
Number 6.
3 players.
3 players.
Top 3 names.
Read the sentence. Top 3 players.
Top 3.
Top 3 names. That's it. So 3 would be the answer.
If we write 3 players, then wrong.
Yeah. Top 3 players' names. Maybe if you write with apostrophe S, it would be correct.
I wrote it with the apostrophe S. but
You have
I-
written like that,
Yeah.
that
then-
would be considered right.
Then I
Rubbed it. Okay. Fine, done with this. Now please come to question number 8. Here we will be solving question 1 to 10 all together in one audio. Please tell me type of question. Question 1 to 3. Sentence completion. Question 4 to 6. 4 to 6. Flow chart. 7 to 10. Flow chart or choose from the box. Okay. Read the instructions. What are the instructions given?
not more than one word.
Kushal, Mayank, in each and every question, instructions are very important. Okay, what instruction is given here? Complete the notes below. You have to complete the notes. Then, what is the instruction? No more than one word. Okay, if you will write 2 words, it will be marked wrong. 1 word, that means 1 word. Okay. And similarly for question 4 to 6, no more than 2 words or a number. Correct? Read it out, underline keywords if required. Don't want to read, Mayank? Abhishek, pay attention. Done, shall I play?
Done.
Track 33.
Today, in our series of lectures on language, we are going to be looking at the way in which children acquire language. This area of study is characterized by 3 main features which may explain the interest in the topic. Firstly, people find it fascinating. This stems from the natural interest that people take in the developing abilities of young children. They are amazed by the way in which children learn, particularly their own children. Secondly, it's important to study how we acquire our first language, because the study of how children learn can lead us to a greater understanding of language as a whole. The third point is that it's a complex area of study. This is because of the enormous difficulties that are encountered by researchers as soon as they attempt to explain language development, especially in the very young child. In today's lecture, we will cover a number of topics. We will start by talking about the research methods that are used. There are a number of ways that researchers can investigate children's language, and these include the use of diaries, recordings, and tests. And later in the course, we'll be looking at how researchers make use of these. We will then go on to examine the actual process of language learning, starting with the development of speech in young infants during their first year. This is the time associated with the emergence of the skills of speech perception. In other words, an emergence of the child's awareness of his or her own ability to speak. We will then move on to look at language learning in the older child, that is, in children under 5. As they mature, it is possible to begin analysis in conventional linguistic terms. And so, in our analysis, we will look at phonological, grammatical, and semantic development in preschool children. In the second part of the talk, I would like to review some broad educational approaches to how linguistic skills can be developed in school-age children. Put another way, how can we, as teachers, assist our young learners to develop language in the classroom? First, we will look at some issues related to getting children to express themselves confidently when they talk. So we'll be looking at spoken language. We will then move on to that area which causes some children a lot more difficulty and review a number of approaches in relation to teaching children to read. For instance, issues such as whether to teach them to recognize whole words or go back to the more traditional methods of spelling the words out to find their meaning. And finally, we'll conclude with an account of current thinking on perhaps the most neglected area of all, the child's developing awareness of written language and how best to help them achieve in this area.
How many out of 10?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
9. Manjot?
1, 2, 3.
Count everyone. 7. Aviral?
9.
9. Abhijeet?
6.
Abhijeet, what is the problem? Unable to understand the accent. Accent you are getting?
Yes, ma'am.
Then
When I am writing second one.
you have to speed up.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? But enough time is there to write one word when they go for the second point.
Actually, topic was dropped there. I didn't understand.
Speed up, okay? Fine. Number 1,
Interest.
correct. Number 2,
Didn't get that.
number 3,
Complex.
complex.
Number 2,
Nobody has written?
acquire. I
No.
wrote acquire.
No. Acquire is not feature, that's verb.
I wrote it.
Important. Second one is important. Number 4,
Child language.
Researchers.
kind of. Not researchers, but
Discussion of research.
I wrote what I wrote. Use I wrote.
use. Discussion of use.
Includes the use very.
Research.
I mean, you're not even reading the sentence after writing
No,
the
ma'am, I
answer.
wrote. See, I
Manjot?
wrote it wrong only.
Number 4, Abhijit. Mayank. Number 4,
Linguistic.
Number 4.
Yes.
Children's language sounds.
No. Kushal?
Discussion of teachers.
No. Guys.
Discussion of children's language.
Understanding of language as a whole. The third point is that it's a complex area of study. And this is the interest that people take in the developing abilities of young children. They are amazed by the way in which children learn, particularly their own children. Secondly, it's important to study how we acquire.
What is the signpost used?
Young children.
Signpost.
Firstly and secondly.
Secondly, right? As he said secondly, you should be ready. Okay, my answer is coming. Secondly, it is what? Secondly, it is important. So that is your answer. Third, you have already done. Let's look
of study. This is because of the enormous difficulties that are encountered by researchers as soon as they attempt to explain language development, especially in the very young child. In today's lecture, we will cover a number of topics. We will start by talking about the research methods that are used. There are a number of ways that researchers can investigate children's language.
Okay.
Research method.
Yes. Research methods. Fifth one.
First year.
First year. Correct.
First,
Six.
Under 5.
Under 5. Seventh.
D.
No.
8. Linguistics.
Speaking, focus on speaking.
language.
Language.
Sorry. Under 5.
Only
No. It has to be under 5. Not only the child of 5 years, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So all credits. Okay. Seventh.
C. Sorry. Matlab A.
A. A is the correct answer. Then he
C.
tells that there are
C.
3 key features. Okay.
I wrote
First,
pink and C.
focus on
D. Speaking.
speaking, correct. Then B, how to teach.
Reading and spelling I think.
Where is spelling?
E.
So you will write 2 options. Is it given in instruction that you can write more than one option?
There isn't written. We can write 1 or 2 or 3.
Up to lesson 7 when we have completed, anywhere have you written 2 options? A, C, both correct. Okay, number 10.
Thinking G.
E is the answer, right?
G. Writing.
Writing
G,
G.
writing.
Writing, he told that writing is.
Yes.
But what are the answer of 8 and 9?
A is D.
A is D. 7 is D. Sorry.
7 is A.
Alright.
8 is D.
Okay.
9 is C.
Okay.
10th is G. You want to listen this part again?
Yes.
I wrote B first. Then I wrote A and later.
In the second part of the talk, age children.
Sorry?
Play from starting to
The whole you want to listen? Okay.
Track 33.
Today, in our series of lectures on language, we are going to be looking at the way in which children acquire language. This area of study is characterized by 3 main features which may explain the interest in the topic. Firstly, people find it fascinating. This stems from the natural interest that people take in the developing abilities of young children. They are amazed by the way in which children learn, particularly their own children. Secondly, it's important to study how we acquire our first language, because the study of how children learn can lead us to a greater understanding of language as a whole. The third point is that it's a complex area of study. This is because of the enormous difficulties that are encountered by researchers as soon as they attempt to explain language development, especially in the very young child. In today's lecture, we will cover a number of topics. We will start by talking about the research methods that are used. There are a number of ways that researchers can investigate children's language, and these include the use of diaries, recordings, and tests. And later in the course, we'll be looking at how researchers make use of these. We will then go on to examine the actual process of language learning, starting with the development of speech in young infants during their first year. This is the time associated with the emergence of the skills of speech perception. In other words, an emergence of the child's awareness of his or her own ability to speak. We will then move on to look at language learning in the older child, that is, in children under 5. As they mature, it is possible to begin analysis in conventional linguistic terms. And so, in our analysis, we will look at phonological, grammatical, and semantic development in preschool children. In the second part of the talk, I would like to review some broad educational approaches to how linguistic skills can be developed in school-age children. Put another way, how can we, as teachers, assist our young learners to develop language in the classroom? First, we will look at some issues related to getting children to express themselves confidently when they talk. So we'll be looking at spoken language. We will then move on to that area which causes some children a lot more difficulty and review a number of approaches in relation to teaching children to read. For instance, issues such as whether to teach them to recognize whole words or go back to the more traditional methods of spelling the words out to find their meaning. And finally, we'll conclude with an account of current thinking on perhaps the most neglected area of all, the child's developing awareness of written language and how best to help them achieve in this area.
Done?
What is the answer of third one? E or C? E, right? Spelling.
Ninth?
B, I think B. How to teach. Ninth one.
Ninth is C. Reading. Got all the answers, everyone? Okay, now please come to next question, that is question number 11. Please tell me type of question. Table completion.
Table completion.
Second part.
Diagram.
No.
Note.
Flow chart.
Flow chart.
Okay. Number 6 to 10. MCQs.
MCQ.
What are the instructions?
No more than
No more than 3 words.
Two words.
2 words.
And you are allowed to choose only one option in MCQs. Okay, Manjot?
Okay, ma'am. Okay.
Read and underline keywords if required. I'll play the audio then. Shall I play? Yes.
Eagle lays egg, but why there's a frog over there?
When you listen to the audio, you'll understand why a frog is there. Beetles or like kind of bugs, and they are food of these frogs. Shall I play?
Track 34. In today's lecture, I want to look at one of Australia's least loved animals, but one that has an interesting history from which I think we can learn a fundamental lesson about problem solving. While Australia is famous for its many wonderful native animals, in particular the kangaroo and the koala, it also has some less attractive animals, many of which were actually brought to Australia in the 19th and 20th centuries. First, perhaps the most well-known introduced animal is the rabbit, brought originally by the early settlers as a source of food. Another animal to be introduced by the settlers was the fox, and this was for the purpose of sport in the form of fox hunting. But perhaps the most unusual animal ever brought here was the cane toad. Here is a picture of one. It's a large, and some people would say very ugly species of toad, and was deliberately imported to this country by the sugarcane farmers in 1935 in an attempt to eradicate the beetle which destroys the sugarcane plant. So, how does the beetle do this? Well, it lives in the cane and drops its eggs onto the ground around the base of the plant. The eggs develop into grubs and then they eat the cane roots. This, as you would expect, is far from good for the plant, and the result is, of course, that within a short period of time, the plant dies. The problems all happened because in the mid-30s, there was a serious outbreak of cane beetle, and the farmers became desperate to get rid of the pest which was ruining their livelihood. About this time, news was trickling in from overseas about a toad, which supposedly ate the beetles which killed the cane. It was reported that this cane toad, which was native to Central America, had been taken to Hawaii, where cane is also grown, and introduced with apparent success. So, with the backing of the Queensland authorities, the farmers arranged to import 100 toads from Hawaii. The toads were then released into the cane fields to undertake the eradication of the cane beetle. As predicted, the toads started to breed successfully, and within a very short time their numbers had swollen. But there was one serious problem. It turned out that cane toads do not eat cane beetles, and the reason for this is that toads live on insects that are found on the ground, and the cane beetles live at the top of the cane plant, well out of reach of the toads. In fact, they never come into contact with each other. Now, you may well ask, how did this terrible mistake ever happen? And the reason is quite simply that the farmers were desperate to find a way of ridding their fields of the cane beetle, and so they accepted the reports that had been written, without ever doing their own research. Meanwhile, much of tropical northeast Australia is infested with the cane toad, which serves no purpose whatsoever, and experts claim that the toad is spreading south in plague proportions. The added irony is that in 1947, just 12 years later, an effective pesticide was developed which actually kills the beetle, thereby ensuring the survival of the sugarcane industry to this day. Now, as agricultural scientists, we have to ask ourselves, what lessons are to be learned from this tale? And I can think of three main points. Firstly, one should never rely on claims which are not backed up by evidence, i.e., in this case, evidence that the cane toad actually eats the grub of the cane beetle and thereby kills the pest. Secondly, we should look very carefully at possible effects of introducing any living species into a new environment. And lastly, one should not allow one's decision-making to be influenced by a sense of desperation, which may cloud the issue. In other words, one should always seek objective advice.
Done? Okay, number 1. Rabbit. Number 2. For hunting or sports. Both are correct. Number 3. Sugarcane farmers. Correct. Number 4. Cane roots. Number 5. Sugarcane dies or sugarcane plant dies. Both are correct. Number 6. Central America. They did not say originated. What they said? How they paraphrased? Native. Okay. Number 7.
B. Number 7 B.
Everyone has written B?
Yeah.
Okay. 8.
8 C. C. They believed in the reports.
Yes. Number 9.
B. They died. I don't B.
I think C.
Abhijit? Number 9. Answer quickly. B. Aviral? 9th.
I don't know C.
Om?
A.
Kushal? Mayank?
C.
C.
Caution is necessary.
Only Om is correct. The sugarcane industry thrives today. Why you chose this answer?
Because they said that it was getting down by the time.
They used the paraphrased word survive. That is how the sugarcane industry is surviving today. Number 10.
C.
Number 10.
A.
C.
C.
A.
C.
Manjot,
C.
Kushal.
I think B.
First-hand research is not always necessary. Are you sure?
I think that they phrase the line in between that they don't trust the researchers.
So, what does it mean? We should not trust all the research before doing it. That means caution is necessary when dealing with nature. Whenever you are doing something, you need to be you need to take precautions for that. Fine. Abhijit, done with the 10th one? How you have done after I told you?
What's the answer, ma'am?
10th is C. Caution is necessary.
Ma'am, can you play the part of 5-1?
Fifth one, this one, sugarcane.
Die.
At this time, news was trickling in from overseas about a toad which supposedly ate the beetles which killed the cane, breed successfully, and within a very short time their numbers had swapped. Cane toad, which was native to Central America, had been taken to Hawaii cane beetle, and the farmers became desperate to get rid of the pest which was ruining their livelihood. About this time, do this. Well, it lives in the cane and drops its eggs onto the ground around the base of the plant. The eggs develop into grubs and then they eat the cane roots. This, as you would expect, is far from good for the plant, and the result is, of course, that within a short period of time, the plant dies. The problems all happened because in the mid-30s, there was a serious...
Dies. Earlier you have written something else. Plant dies.
Dies. That dies.
Like, what is the relation between plant and dies? Come on.
I didn't
Common
know.
sense.
I just looked at him and he wrote dies.
Okay. So that is how we have completed our insight, and today we will begin with breakup questions. Don't go for that sort of breakup. Japanese?
Yes. I don't know Chinese or Japanese.
Comet should start teaching Japanese now.
Yes. Like arigato ne.
Okay, so we'll be doing 3 questions today. Please take out sheet 1. Done with this. Done with this. What is the type of question? Sorry?
Sorry, MC.
Sorry?
Note completion.
Sorry? Choose from the box.
I was just going to say.
Oh, Manjot. Read and underline if required.
I did it.
Done?
From 17 to 20.
20. Yes.
Okay.
Shall I play?
We have to just write A.
Now listen and answer questions 17 to 20. to our tents, these are equipped to the highest standard. We really do think of every essential detail, from an oven and cooking rings fuelled by bottled gas to mirrors in the bedroom areas. If you don't want to cook indoors, you can borrow a barbecue if you ask in advance for one to be made available. And there's even a picnic blanket to sit on outside your tent. Inside, a box of games and toys can be found, and children's tents can be hired if required. All tents have a fridge, and if you want to spend the day on the beach, for example, ask for a specially designed PS Camping cool box, which will keep your food and drinks chilled. There are excellent washing facilities at all our sites, with washing machines and clothes lines in the central areas, along with mops and buckets in case your tent needs cleaning during your stay. All sites have a cafe and/or a shop for those who'd rather eat in than dine at a local restaurant.
That is the end of section 2. You now...
C, C, C.
18,
A,
19,
C,
C, 20,
B,
B. Correct.
Now Chinese part.
Number 2, sheet 2.
This one.
I guess I have written 2 over there. 2 on the top. The question is like understanding of EI. Read, underline keywords if required, otherwise I'll play.
Section 3.
Yes, test 3 is written, right? I have written 2 over there. Done.
Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
You say you're building models of the world's ocean systems, but how are they going to be used? And more importantly, when?
Some of the data has already helped in completing projects. For example, our understanding of the underlying causes of El Niño events is being confirmed by float data. Another way we're using float data is to help us to understand the mechanics of climate change, like global warming and ozone depletion. That's part of an ongoing variability study, but the results are still a long way off. However, this is not the case with our ocean weather forecasting. Because we know from the floats what the prevailing weather conditions will be in certain parts of the ocean, we can advise the Navy on search and rescue missions. That's happening right now, and many yachtsmen owe their lives to the success of this project. In addition, the float data can help us to look at the biological implications of ocean processes.
Would that help with preserving fish stocks?
Yes, and advising governments on fisheries legislation. We're well on the way to completing a project on this. We hope it will help to bring about more sustainable fishing practices. We'll be seeing the results of that quite soon.
It sounds like the data from floats has lots of applications.
Yes, it does. It's also a powerful agricultural tool. If we were aware of what the weather would be like, say, next year, we could make sure that the farmers planted appropriate grain varieties to produce the best yield from the available rainfall.
That sounds a bit like science fiction, especially when now we can't even tell them when a drought will break.
I agree that this concept is still a long way in the future, but it will come eventually, and the float data will have made a contribution.
Okay, 26.
That is the end of...
27.
C,
C. 28.
A,
29.
B,
30.
C.
Correct. Let's go to sheet 3. Read and underline, please. Done. Shall I play?
Trevor, what are we going to include?
Well, do you think we ought to give some historical background?
Oh no, definitely not. We won't have time.
Okay, but I think we ought to say something about the geographical location, because not a lot of people know where the islands are.
Yes, okay. I'll take notes, shall I?
Yeah, that'd be a help.
So, geographical location?
Then we ought to give an overview of the whole education system.
Shouldn't we say something about the economy? You know, agricultural produce, minerals and so forth?
Well, Dr. White said we shouldn't go into that sort of detail.
But it's pretty important when you think about it. You know, because it does influence the education system.
Look, let's think about that one later, shall we? Let's see how we do for time.
Okay, so general overview of education.
Of course. And then the role of English language.
No, that goes in the language policy seminar, don't you remember?
Are you sure?
Positive.
All right. So those are the topics we're going to be covering.
Okay. 23.
A.
24.
B. C.
Why C?
It is saying that it's not possible. It's not
We will
important.
think about it later on.
Yeah.
What does it mean?
Might be.
25th.
A.
A. Abhijev. Om. 25th is A. 26th.
C.
C. It comes in language system.
Language. But ma'am, how will be able to explain or answer 25 questions?
25th.
Because I just loved it.
Overview of education. Listen again.
Think about it. You know, because it does influence the education system.
Look, let's think about that one later, shall we? Let's see how we do for time.
Okay, so general overview of education.
Of course. And then the role of English.
Ended. Of course. That means surety.
Sure. He told that we should take it lighter, I think, right?
What?
He
Later
says
on?
it in a sentence that we should take it lighter.
Economy. For economy later on. Not lighter.
Okay. So
Their accent is that well lighter. So that sounds like lighter. Okay, done with this. What about yesterday's homework?
Done, ma'am.
I did it.
TED Talks, shadowing,
No.
practice, Abhijev,
Yes, ma'am.
TED Talk or shadowing.
No.
Why? I need to know why. It's not funny, Manjot. Why? You were busy doing what? Sorry? Will you give time for homework? From when? Sure? Manjot, practice, TED Talk and shadowing. Why?
I was writing this vocabulary stuff and this sentence.
Good. Vikas, have you practiced?
Yeah, ma'am. Most of the things, the TED Talks part and the shadowing part.
Shadowing also. Good. Aviral?
I practice shadowing, but I forgot about TED Talk because
Okay. Like,
I'm doing the pending my accounts.
okay.
I wrote a TED
You
Talk,
were
but
busy, that's okay, but how can you forget? If you do so, please note it down. Om? Because everybody knows, for shadowing, ma'am is not going to ask that come and explain. Ma'am will only ask for TED Talks. So we have practiced the shadowing and we did not get time for TED Talks. Very clever of you all. Very nice. Proud of you.
I wrote my TED Talk summary
A few years ago, I began to observe that made me a bit uncomfortable. And that was that from the moment that I woke up to the morning, to the end of the day, my life was a series of screens. I started the day with the thing that woke me up first thing in the morning.
I want everybody to listen very carefully. Listen to his pronunciation, the way he frames the sentences. Please note down the keywords if required, because I'll ask you to come here and explain, any one of you. Please note down good vocabs that you are getting from it. Fine? Will anybody say yes?
Yes, ma'am.
A few years ago, I began to observe something in my own behavior that made me a bit uncomfortable. And that was that from the moment that I woke up to the morning, to the end of the day, my life was a series of screens. I started the day with the thing that woke me up first thing in the morning, my phone. And so I sat there in bed watching various cooking videos on Instagram and bouncing around between a bunch of different applications. But then it was time to get out of bed and cook breakfast. And so the thing that I focused then on, in addition to the omelet in the pan, was the iPad that was right next to the oven. And then it was time to do some work. And so I went to a different screen, which was attached to another screen itself. All the while this little devil on my wrist was tapping and beeping and blooping and distracting me as I was trying to get important stuff done. But there was one particular offender out of all of these different devices that I wasted more time on than anything else. That was this dastardly thing, my phone. I could spend hours on this thing every single day. And so I decided to essentially, for all intents and purposes, get rid of the thing for a month. As an experiment, I thought I'm going to live on this thing for just 30 minutes every single day at a maximum. And so this is the amount of time I have for maps. This is the amount of time to call my mother. This is the amount of time that I have for everything that I could possibly want to do. To listen to music, to listen to podcasts. And I observed what happened during this time. It took about a week to adjust downward into a new, lower level of stimulation. But once I did, I noticed that 3 curious things began to happen. First, my attention span grew. It was like I could focus on things not effortlessly, but with much more ease than I could before this experiment started. In addition to this, though, as I was going about the world, and especially when my mind wandered a bit, I had more ideas that my mind arrived at. And on top of this, I had more plans and thoughts about the future. Getting rid of one simple device led to these 3 effects. Why? Noticing this a few years back led me on this long journey to get to the bottom of what it takes to focus in a world of distraction. I poured over hundreds of research papers from front to back my office. I don't know if you've ever watched one of those crime shows where somebody's solving a murder, and so they have this big Bristol board and there's string attached to papers, attached to memos, attached to newspaper clippings. This is like what the state of my office was. I flew out to meet experts around the world who study focus. I conducted more experiments on myself until the point I had 25,000 words of research notes about why this is the case. How does technology influence our attention and our ability to focus? I want to start with the attention spans that we have. This is how we pay attention to the world around us and how much control we have over our focus. The research around this particular area is fascinating. It turns out that when we two work in front of a computer, especially when our phone is nearby, we focus on one thing for just 40 seconds before we switch to doing something else. And when we have things like Slack open as we're doing some work, this lowers to 35 seconds. But the reason that this is the case is not what we might think after looking at the research. We think the problem is that our brains are distracted. But after looking at the research, this is what I've come to know as a symptom for the deeper problem, which runs much more deeply. It's the root cause of this distraction. It's not that we're distracted, it's that our brains are overstimulated. It's that we crave distraction in the first place. Our brains love these tiny little nuggets of information and social media and email and these things that we do over the course of the day. There's even a mechanism in our mind called the novelty bias, by which our mind rewards us with a hit of dopamine, one of those wonderful pleasure chemicals, the same one that we get when we eat and order a whole medium pizza from Domino's, the same one that we get when we make love. We get that same stimulation when we check Facebook. We get this
This was on yesterday.
Yes, it was revision. Ranjit, please come and explain.
First of all, Chris Bailey was talking about how to get your mind to focus on something. First of all, he noticed something in his behavior when he woke up in the morning. He used to just take his phone and go through his social media and see reels about food and stuff. Then he was just cooking his eggs. Then he saw there were screens left to right. There were screens on his
Table.
on his table. So he thought what he was doing with his life, and he was just distracted with his mind of thoughts and something. So disrupted.
Distraction is
Disrupted. So he thought, let's do an experiment of let's don't use any kind of technology for just a full day. He just used his this technologies and phone and stuff for 30 minutes. He used 30 minutes for his podcast, and he can talk to his mom and listen to music and stuff. He experimented this for a week, and then he paid attention to and after a week he noticed some changes in his behavior. He could pay more attention to everything, and he can focus on anything, and for what he used to work where he used to work, he get more ideas, he got innovative. So when he noticed the changes, he saw a crime scene there, and there were piles of files over there, and there were notepads with the strings attached on it. So after a week, he got to 26,613 words of notes in his diary to what kind of innovation he's looking for. So yeah.
That's it?
Yes, but I got more, but I don't know how to explain it.
Fine. What are the other things? Anything did he miss? Aviral?
He missed about the three things he noticed after a week for doing the activity of 30 minutes day maximum scheduling. The first is he got he focused everything with ease. Secondly, he got more ideas about everything.
He said that.
Third, more plans and thoughts. And a long journey of distraction he came with a long journey of distraction. He noticed that in crime shows and most of the things people make a flow chart for remembering everything.
Yes.
And he also said that he wrote 25,000 of words while this technology influenced everyone. And he noticed that our mind is developed like 40 seconds after that we have distracted for our work and get our focus on screens. And it's not about our brains are distracted, but our brains love these tiny nuggets in which they release a chemical which is called dopamine, which is a pleasure chemical of our brain.
Correct. Anything else? Somebody else has noticed?
He talked about the novelty bias, right? That what he said, what he said about what our brain craves for? Dopamine.
Nuggets. No, tiny nuggets our brain crave for.
Yeah,
because these are very tiny informations and we are like we can adapt it quickly. That is why.
Yeah, he used it in another word. I think he said novelty bias does crave for that little nugget for
tiny nuggets. I heard. Okay, fine. So what would be today's homework?
See, you have to hear this again and summarize it again.
From minute 5 to 10. Okay. Because for 2 days we have revised from minute 1 to 5. So tomorrow minute 5 to 10. Okay.
Hey, welcome back, English practicer. We practice every morning and level up our English skills. Today, alright, the topic is renting an apartment.
In shadowing, what are we supposed to do, Vikas?
Ma'am, we will write the vocab part.
Okay.
And we will repeat it again. Means like he is
We will
repeating and
repeat with him.
repeat the same words which he is trying to say.
Yes.
And
same sentences with same pronunciation and we'll try to adapt the expressions too.
Right.
Okay. Got it, Kushal and Mayank? Mayank, you want to sleep? You're sleepy?
Scheduling an apartment viewing. This lesson is a basic level lesson, but if you're an advanced speaker, use it as an opportunity to sharpen your pronunciation and reduce your accent. We will go fast and repeat each sentence one time. All right, here we go. Version number 1. May I speak to the apartment building manager, please?
May I speak to the apartment manager, please?
I'm the manager. How can I help you?
I'm the manager. How can I help you?
I was hoping that the apartment on Main Street was still available.
I was hoping that the apartment on Main Street was still available.
Shall I play other one?
Why, yes, it is. Would you like to get a look inside the apartment?
Is it fine?
Yeah, it is.
Yes, it is.
Yes, it would be nice to see the apartment.
Yes, it would be nice to see the apartment.
Please be loud.
How about today at 6 o'clock?
How about today at 6 o'clock?
Yes, I can be there at 6.
Yes, I can be there at 6.
Sounds good. I'll see you at 6. Do you want directions?
Sounds good. I'll see you at 6. Do you want directions?
I'm okay, thank you. I already checked out the address on my phone.
I'm okay, thank you. I already checked out the address on my phone.
If you like the place, you can fill out an application form. I'll bring one with me.
If you like, please download the application form and bring one.
Is there anything that I need to bring with me?
Is there anything that you need to bring with me?
No, I won't need to see anything except your driver's license.
No, I don't need to see anything except your driver's license.
Okay, very good. That was version number 1. Version number 2, repeat. Hi, can I speak with the apartment manager, please?
Hi, can I speak with the apartment manager, please?
Hello, this is the apartment manager speaking.
Hello, this is the apartment manager speaking.
I'm calling about the apartment for rent on Main Street.
I'm calling about the apartment for Main Street.
Would you be interested in seeing the apartment?
Would you be interested in seeing the apartment?
I would love to see it.
I would love to see it.
Are you free today at around 6 p.m.?
Are you free today at around 6 p.m.?
Yes, I will be able to make it then.
Yes, I will be able to make it then.
Well, I'll see you at 6 p.m. Do you know how to get there?
Well, I'll see you at 6 p.m. Do you know how to get there?
I used to live in that area.
I used to live in that area.
I'll give you an application form when I see you.
I'll give you an application form when I see you.
That sounds good. Do I need to bring anything?
That sounds good. Do I need to bring anything?
Nope, just bring yourself.
No, just bring yourself.
Boom, boom. Version number 2 finished. Version number 3, here we go. Hello, I was wondering if I could help you. Each sentence one time. All right, here we go. Version number 1. May I speak to the apartment building manager, please?
May I speak to the apartment building manager, please?
I'm the manager. How can I help you?
I'm the manager. How can I help you?
I was hoping that the apartment on Main Street was still available.
I was hoping that the apartment on Main Street was still available.
Why, yes, it is. Would you like to get a look inside the apartment?
Well, yes, it is. Would you like to get a look inside the apartment?
Yes, it would be nice to see the apartment.
Yes, it would be nice to see the apartment.
How about today at 6 o'clock?
How about it at 6 o'clock?
Yes, I can be there at 6.
Yes, I can be there at 6.
Sounds good. I'll see you at 6. Do you want directions?
Sounds good. I'll see you at 6. Do you want directions?
I'm okay, thank you. I already checked out the address on my phone.
I'm okay, thank you. I already checked out the address on my phone.
If you like the place, you can fill out an application form. I'll bring one with me.
If you like the place, you can fill out the application form. I'll bring one with me.
Is there anything that I need to bring with me?
Is there anything that I need to bring with me?
No, I won't need to see anything except your driver's license.
No, I won't need to see anything except your driver's license.
Okay, very good. That was version number 1. Version number 2, repeat. Hi, can I speak with the apartment manager, please?
Hi, can I speak with the apartment manager, please?
Hello, this is the apartment manager speaking.
Hello, this is the apartment manager speaking.
I'm calling about the apartment for rent on Main Street.
I'm calling about the apartment for rent on Main Street.
Would you be interested in seeing the apartment?
Would you be interested in seeing the apartment?
I would love to see it.
I would love to see it.
Are you free today at around 6 p.m.?
Are you free today at around 6 p.m.?
Yes, I will be able to make it then.
Yes, I will be able to make it then.
Well, I'll see you at 6 p.m. Do you know how to get there?
Well, I'll see you at 6 p.m. You know how to get there.
I used to live in that area.
I used to live in that area.
I'll give you an application form when I see you.
I'll give you an application form when I see you.
That sounds good. Do I need to bring anything?
That sounds good. Do I need to bring anything?
Nope, just bring yourself.
No, just bring yourself.
Boom, boom.
Vocabs, please.
Street, apartment, direction, sound, address, license. These are the common ones, but still I wrote it.
Like in shadowing, we are going to get common words only.
Yeah.
But still, like when somebody asks you about housing, you may not be thoroughly using apartment, right? So if you write it, read it again and again, it will come to tip of your tongue. Okay, Manjot?
Scheduling, pronunciation, and license.
Scheduling, booking, apartment, direction, application, mainstream, interest, wondering, available.
Last one?
Available.
Available. Okay. Om?
Sharpening, hoping, wondering, application.
Avaril?
Viewing, scheduling, accent, speed, accept, apartment, direction, application.
Kushal? Mayan? Why? Told you in the beginning, please note down vocabs. Whenever you are listening anything, whether it to be TED Talks, ABC News, shadowing, anything, please note down vocabs. Let it be general words, but once we write, like it comes to our mind, right? Okay, fine. That's it for today. What's today's homework?
How to
TED Talk.
TED Talk, yes, 5 minutes to 10 minutes.
Vocab.
Yes.
Shadowing. And TED Talk.
Yes. From tomorrow we will speed up doing these breakup questions. We will finish it as soon as possible so that you can come to that.
Main part of